How's it going, guys? Fergus here today with my friend Sam, and we've both read 12 Rules for Life, An Antidote for Chaos by Jordan Peterson, and we're going to kind of review it today, I guess, or
discuss it
more so than review it. So Sam, you read the book, what? You just finished it there, right?
I just finished it, yeah.
And I finished it about a week ago, so at different, what would you
perspectives,
say?
I think.
We're at different levels of digestion. Yeah, that's different levels of digestion of the book and where we're at with it. I did a video there, was it 5 days ago maybe? And I haven't really thought about it much since, but I guess it's been running in the back of my mind. So you just finished the book.
Yeah.
Tell me where you are.
I think, I don't know, it'll appeal to fans of Peterson, but it's hard to, particularly having just finished it, sort of see what the new information is, because a lot of it is like a distillation of the lectures, I think, you know? So there's a lot of kind of crossovers between chapters and stuff. It's like, oh, have I read this before? Have I seen it in a YouTube video? But
you're constantly referring to maybe a YouTube video you've already seen, or something he's already said. But I think it goes a bit deeper than just his lectures, though, right?
Oh yeah. There's a bit of deja vu, but
there's a bit of deja vu, but it's way more crystallized.
Yeah,
in my mind than it is than just watching the YouTube lectures. And plus, kind of what I made the point before was that, you know, you're there with yourself, and you're not like as blindsided by like the charisma of Jordan Peterson, and you're actually taking on the ideas and the philosophy. Like you're there's nothing else supporting those ideas. You're taking them on board. I think really mulling them over. Like
I think you made that point in your video, did you? That you're kind of divorced from the charisma of Peterson as a speaker and as a lecturer.
Which he goes. You've said it much better than I have. Yeah, I've divorced myself from the. Yeah.
Well, it's in the sense that it's good to be presented, I think, just with the ideas and the material, rather than, because I think there is an element of being swept up by a charismatic speaker. Young men predominantly can be like, oh wow, what's this new kind of direction in life, but it's good to have it sort of laid out. Yeah, you can easily be fooled by the speaker, by the father figure manifesting it.
Well, as opposed to the content itself. That's kind of what you're saying. Right, so should we just kind of, our plan was to kind of go through each chapter and just kind of give a blow by blow essentially, but some of the chapters might not be as poignant to this kind of discussion today. Stand up straight with your shoulders back. Well, that's pretty self-explanatory.
The Lobster chapter.
The Lobster chapter, yeah. There's a lot of obvious stuff, right?
Yeah.
Stand up straight with shoulders back. Take on the world, take on the responsibility. To me, that wasn't the most powerful chapter. I mean, as you said, kind of self-explanatory. But maybe it's something that you and I, as actors, it's something, the body and how we treat the body and how that, like, will manifest our world.
Sure. Well,
that's something we know very well, but maybe for other people reading the book, it's not so obvious.
Yeah, totally.
That your body is a manifestation of your world, let's just say. Right?
I think
that's probably more obvious to us and less obvious to people who don't work in the realm of body, should we say.
Yeah. I think, well, not so much the subtext of the chapter, but what he goes into. Yeah. What I found with most of the book is to what extent can one take the title, like each chapter, literally. I mean, stand up straight with your shoulders back also means, he sort of advocates being assertive in your pursuits, in your speech, as well as not being, he has this whole thing about not being too agreeable. That you'll be taken advantage of.
I have no problem in that area.
Yeah. We're at different ends of the spectrum and we learn something from each other. But I think, so it's, stand up straight with your shoulders back. Don't, take any guff from anyone and stand up for what you do. I think there's a lot of crossovers with the chapters, like be precise in your speech, in terms of just wanting to kind of make an effect in the world and not really lie down and let another lobster take your possessions.
Take your selfness. Next chapter, I guess. Treat yourself like someone you are responsible for helping.
Well, I think it's one of the best titles of chapters. Treat yourself like someone you are responsible for helping. I was even talking about the book to my family, and some of them went, that's already good advice without knowing exactly what it means. Because I love the central idea of the chapter is, what is the statistic that many people will, their pets prescription to the letter. If say their dog is sick at the vet, and they'll make sure that their dog gets their medicine on time at the right times every time. But with themselves, they might take liberties. Which I think is really interesting. So, because the thing for me would be, say if you are to keep a promise to someone else, you would show up at the right time. I read that in somewhere else, I think maybe 7 Habits by Stephen Covey. You know, you treat a promise to yourself as you would a promise to someone else. So, you know, I showed up here relatively on time today.
Pretty much on time.
And
I was going to say, you were on time.
Yeah, but sometimes we make... I think you can take liberties with yourself in terms of, I won't go to bed at this time, I'll stay up, I'll watch another episode of this, I'll read this.
Well, you're accountable to, in that sense, right, you're accountable to your own social credibility, or your credibility as a person, right?
Totally,
you know, it's your line of work or your friends or whatever, but taking care of yourself in that context, you know, you've only yourself to account to, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think sort of a layman coming to Peterson would think that he's very sort of hard line, be very tough on yourself, be this kind of force to be reckoned with in the world. You know, the whole thing of you know, the right hand of judgment and justice and berating the self. But sometimes it's like, okay, well, let's leave that aside. You need the left hand of mercy. So treat yourself like someone you're responsible for helping. He talks about you have to be your own boss and employee, not a tyrant, you know. It's like, what would you do, what will you do for me to make it worthwhile working for you? So he uses like, if I do this, I'll play an hour of 15 minutes of video games for an hour of work on something else, you know. So it's that kind of counterbalance, I think. Good advice.
Yeah, good advice. Yeah, solid advice. Yeah. Okay. Befriend people who want the best for you. I mean, we kind of talked about that last week anyways, right?
Do you want the best for me?
No, actually, I don't actually want the best for him, you know. I just want to mug him off. That's why we're doing this, so I can make him seem like a fool, and I'm going to cut it in a way there I look great and he looks...
Yeah, but the joking aside, I tried to apply this to our work and our industry, because not that it's, you know, I'd hate for us to fall into the trap of like, we're looking at this from an artist or an actor's point of view, because it's probably universal. But, you know, make friends with people who want the best for you. If that's necessarily, say if you work at the same job or you're in the same pursuit, there can be a lot of resentment. Peterson talks about that, and it's like, you know, I'm looking at it through a very particular lens in terms of people who are pursuing the same thing as you. It's like, well, do they want the best for me? Or is, when it comes to the crunch, you know, it's like, well, only one person can get this role or this job, or so it's
a hard thing to know in someone else, right? It's a hard thing to know. It's a hard thing to decipher whether they want the best for you or not, especially in our career, you know. Because the competitive nature of the career itself, right?
Yeah,
and that's you know, in a sense, I'm the same age as you. In some sense, I'm competing against you, and then, you know, I'm not really, because we're not in the same bracket. But, you know, you could question whether I want the best for you in that sense. Right?
But that's one thing too that I like about having friends from kind of different disciplines. You know, if all your friends are in the same industry or of the same kind of temperament as you, I think there's no kind of growth there. Like, I love having my best friend who I've known since I was 2. I can still show up at his house and talk about all my neuroses and complaints, and he's just an impartial kind of okay, or like, you know,
because he's not like he's not part of that world.
Someone who doesn't have a horse in the race.
Someone who doesn't have a horse in the race.
But otherwise, make friends with people who want the best for you. It doesn't have to be looked at through the one lens of work or success or pursuits, but
I think that's important. Like, know who you are, so you can see the people who are the best for you. You can decipher yourself, is that someone who's good for me or not? Because you'll know your own resentment, and you'll know your own monster, you know, as Jordan Peterson would say. And if you know that, then if you're familiar with that, you're familiar with others' monsters or badness, and then you can decipher. You can see it. I think that's one of the lessons I've learned last while. You can see whether that person, you can feel it, and you know for sure that person wants the best for you. Like, it's a definite thing. And and anyone who's in the middle ground where it's like, I'm not sure if that person wants the best for me. They're nice to me, or they're they're there for me at some circumstances.
But are you saying, do they necessarily have to know what the best for you is?
No, but they want to help in some, not in some desperate sense, but in knowing you, they want your life to be better. Like.
We talked briefly last week about in Buddhism there's a type of meditation called metta bhavana, and I tried it recently, and it's the whole idea of when you visualize the person and you try to manifest for them, may you be well, may you be happy, may you be free from suffering, may you grow and develop. But it's not about projecting what you think they should do in order to get that. It's just like a kind of detached, whatever it is, just may that be so for you. It's not my idea of what is best for you.
No agenda of what's best for me. It's just it's an open, how would I say it?
It's open.
Yeah, it's open.
Yeah, rather than projecting one's own idea.
Yeah.
I like,
that person needs such and such.
Even though sometimes you'd be with a friend or even not, you're thinking.
Yeah, I always find that you have to pull back from. I know exactly what your problem is, and then you go, no, you hear that voice in your head. Yeah. It's like I know exactly. No, stop, listen, and then like what's behind that, and then don't project.
If you're in a group of people or friends or colleagues, sometimes
that stops real communication.
Things would work better if that person was a little bit more like me, and it's about getting out of that mindset. I think, you know?
Well, not just that, but in many different ways. It's like, oh, I know what the best for you, and I know what you should stop doing, or like, and then it's like, no, pull back.
Yeah,
like it's a constant pulling back. It's fairly similar to meditation. The act.
Yeah,
is similar to the meditative process, right?
Yeah, it's a reciprocal.
Pull back. Right, next one. Compare yourself to who you were yesterday, not to the useless person you are today.
You've kind of paraphrased that. It's not to who someone else is today.
Yeah, was it Freudian?
Freudian
slip there. Yeah. Well, I always do that, especially when I'm reading out loud. Maybe that's because I'm dyslexic. I don't know, but I always paraphrase. Like that.
That's okay because I want the best for you.
Yeah, I know that, Sam. Yeah, or do you? Yeah.
Let's say it again. Compare yourself to who you were yesterday, not who someone else is today. I mean, that's I think
you actually fucked up on that one as well.
But no, that's what it says. Compare yourself to who you were yesterday, not to who someone else is today.
Oh, that's actually different here. My list is different than his.
Yeah, I'm reading from the book.
He's reading from the book. And I'm reading from, I have a screen here with like the list of the chapters so we can go through it, and there's a misprint on
But that's the high openness, you're making it your own.
Yeah, there you go, yeah. I'm wanting it to be this.
Fuck yeah.
That's funny. Anyways, we digress.
We digress. This is something definitely I've struggled with in the past, because you read accounts of this person that I admire, this great artist, this great person, when they were my age, they were doing this, or now they're doing this, and it's like it's a fallacy. I mean, everyone has their own struggles and their own ladder to climb, and it's just, it doesn't make any sense to compare yourself to other people. And he talked about, even in some of the lectures, and which crosses over here, not being too. I used to be very kind of all or nothing, and it's like, unless I'm the best at this, unless I get it done 100%. It's either that or I'm going to withdraw and not take part at all, and that's where failure lies. It's like,
well, that's the ego. It's either I'm the best at this, or let's not even partake at all, because what's the point? Like, but that's the ego speaking, right?
Yeah,
wanting you to as opposed to like now. I think that's a younger mindset. Is kind of what I'm saying. A younger man's mindset in wanting to take over, to rule. And when you get older, like, things become more nuanced, and it isn't about just
gung ho.
Yeah.
Young
like,
man in his 20s.
Yeah. Boom. Yeah, it's more nuanced.
Yeah, we addressed this in the second rule: treat yourself like someone you're responsible for helping. It's good to be firm with yourself, but balance that with the left-handed justice of mercy, and just kind of temper that. But yeah, that's a very hard thing to balance, though. Like, I mean, it's the easiest thing in the world to talk about. Yeah, setting a routine. It's like, oh well, I didn't say you kind of you hit 50% of it that week. Peterson was saying, and then it's like, oh, I only got half of it done. Well, that's a lot better than zero. And if you can aim to hit 51% next week, have that gradual. Yeah. What does it make? How can I make today even slightly better than yesterday was? So.
The thing I'm running into with that is, like, I feel as if I'm grabbing at those 1% each week, as you say, right? So 52. But it never feels good enough. been chasing that. You know what I mean? Okay, there's improvements there, but it's still not good enough, I guess.
But what are you shooting for? What is good enough? 100% all the time?
Yeah, I guess so, right? Being a slave to your routine, in a sense. Don't let it be
a tyrant.
Yeah, be a tyrant towards yourself. I guess I fall into that category where it's like, yes, the improvement, like incrementally I'm making those improvements, but like, it's still not good on, whipping myself back into shape. You know what I mean? So that's my kind of...
But I've tried to even take it kind of literally, even back to this. I just think this rule goes very hand in hand with the second one. Treat yourself like someone responsible for helping, in that you almost view yourself physically as two people, and you can be the boss and be like, yeah, okay, we're gonna go for a run, we're gonna read this much, but then the worker's like like trying to keep up with all this, and you need to, okay, look, you've done a great job, now just chill, just binge on some Netflix, or the reward and punishment kind of mindset, and something we came across from another teacher was dealing with the self-critic, have it be in terms of a criticism, have it be a critique. So it's not just, this is bad. It's like, well, let's make these alterations here. That's
what I'm going to say. It becomes a more nuanced perspective approach to comparing oneself.
Just be sound with yourself.
Compare is a contextually is a very harsh word. Compare. Good bad. That's the assumption. And I guess by us doing this, like breaking down these ideas, we free ourselves up from the language a little bit more. That's kind of what I'm saying. I think I've in a sense freed myself up a little bit from that, comparing my yesterdays to today's. Do you know what I mean? Just by discussing it. Anyways. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, there's loads of ways of measuring it, though. It's not just like,
that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
You can't be. I mean, if you're an upward kind of incline all the way, I mean, you have to have moments of, I don't know, not necessarily indulgence, but you can't. I mean, it depends on your temperament as well. He says, if you've done the personality test, the big five traits, like somebody who is very high in conscientiousness in the 90s or whatever can afford to, just take some time to kind of chill, or get a dog.
But then when you're like that, it's the hardest thing in the world. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, because it's like, it's the most, if you're really high in conscientiousness like I am, it's the hardest thing in the world to pull off that, because that's all you know. So it's like you're experimenting with the other. And
do you feel when you've nothing to do that you kind of have to be busy, or?
Oh yeah, that's like torture to me. Do not let your children do anything that makes you dislike them. I guess should we even go into this topic, seeing as we don't have children?
Well, see, we referred to earlier like that. How literal are these chapters? And I think in each chapter so far, there's been, well, it's not so literal. Like there's more later on, which it's like, how is that a rule? But I couldn't really. So far anyway. I only read this like a week ago, and I don't know what the representational argument is in terms of how does this apply to people who don't have children.
Yeah, it was fascinating for me to read, in the sense, because it's a perspective I haven't had to like bring into my own life because I don't have children. But to put myself in the position of a person who had children, I guess, was interesting in that sense. To really think about, okay, let's say I had children in the next 2 years or so. Oh yeah, of course I wouldn't want to do that, and I wouldn't want to do this. And so it was a good kind of, even for now that I think, like, for someone who I don't feel like I'm anywhere near that level, it was still a good exercise in stretching my imagination, kind of like Jordan Peterson said about, like, imagine that you're, an SS guard, like that type of thing. That kind of thing was good, to really consider, like, yeah, well, I wouldn't want to do that, and I wouldn't want to do. So, it was laying down some sort of mental foundation.
How you would want to raise a child.
Yeah. Even though it's not something I'm considering, but just putting those ideas in place. So even, it's still very worthwhile, letting my imagination sort of fill in the blanks.
Did you find yourself going back to your own upbringing, going, that would have been...
Yeah, I mean, I did. I think I related back to my own upbringing, and I realised that my parents did a very fucking good job. That was kind of my synopsis on that. What was yours?
Yeah, no, totally. There's totally that, and trying.
It's great. I a feeling of like, yeah, my parents did a fucking great job.
Yeah, and at the same time, you might read something
nice
that's
feeling.
the kind of the counter to what you experience. Like, okay, well, maybe that's the reason I'm this. Or if I had a child, like he says, your goal with your child or children should be to make them socially desirable, which sounds very shallow, but he's put forth the worldview that it's we must be kind of. I have an extroverted default, and
I did think about my sister has children, but I did think about her children, and that was actually one of the things I bounced it off. And I mean, your sister has a child now as well, right?
My brother has a child.
Oh, your brother. Yeah. Sorry, apologies.
My nephew. Yeah,
don't know him well enough, do I?
That's okay.
I was bouncing off that, and was like, he's very social now. Yeah, no, he and then you're kind of like, he's playing the game quite well, and that's it. Game is the wrong word, but he'll do very well for himself. Within the context of that chapter.
Part of me found myself reading this chapter going, oh, well, next time I see Senan, how am I going to, not to be like a third parent to your nephew or to your niece, but I do think it's interesting.
No, you have it running in the, not that you're like, must apply said rule now, you know what I mean? Like you just read it and like, I mean, that's a very, boyish
backseat parenting.
Yeah, backseat parent. But that it's running in the back of your mind. It's like, it's something, it's a concept or a perspective that you didn't have now that's running, it's there kind of running in the back of your mind. You're building that muscle essentially, right? Yeah. In a sense.
Yeah. Because if you think about it, I mean, parenting is just, I
didn't think we'd have anything to say about this.
I know, and here we are.
Here we are.
Brooding would-be fathers.
Brooding
we are looking to adopt.
Yeah, we're looking to adopt,
what was I going to say? I think, because there's the classic thing is like, my sister kind of talks about this sometimes. She doesn't have a child. She's a bit younger than I am. She goes, you need a license to get a dog, but you don't need a license to have a child. And so many people are having children that shouldn't. And it's like, but it's the most natural thing in the world. But at the same time, it's really just you figure it out as you go. And I'm not claiming to know anything about parenting. And
I'm assuming that like it's like you jumping in the deep end. Anyone's jumping in the deep end when you're doing that, right?
And instincts will come to the fore.
Yeah, instincts will come to the fore, and then your mind will be geared towards how do I, make this situation better, and then and thus you will put yourself into position to make it better.
Yeah. So for a while I was thinking, because obviously the book came from the Quora post that Peterson responded to. What is it? What are the most valuable things that everyone should know? And he started with about 40 of them, and I was like, out of 40, why did he include this one? I mean, it's like, but Peterson believes, what is it he said? If you decide not to marry and not to have children, you're missing out on 2/3 of life, or what it has to offer. And I was like, wow.
You said that to me last week, and
that really went, wow, like that's. I don't know, because I feel like I'd always, if I don't know what's going to happen with me, but if I have my own, ideas that I'm formulating, but if I didn't have children, I would always be curious, like, am I missing out on some of the real juice of life? Probably. We've spent so long on this chapter. I think to finish up, I think it's a good chapter to include.
Sorry, we were rambling on all
in terms of raising a little human being. It's like, oh well, what would be the best things to expose them to, and to bounce ideas off for the self.
Right. We certainly talked that chapter through. Okay. Set your house in order before you criticize the world. I think I was someone who criticized the world a lot, and maybe as an artist you look at the world and you try to you design, your imagination tries to design a world in your head that would most suit yourself and the people you know, and when you look around, that isn't the world that you see. And I mean, it's in a sense you're not doing the real work, which is looking inside yourself to see what you should change. So obviously this is a literal thing, like organize your room, organize your life, schedule yourself, but that's kind of how I took it.
Yeah, well, the whole clean your room idea, which is one of his main kind of staple ideas.
It's a deep idea, He makes a very simple process, which is tidying your room, into a deeper idea, which is, I think that's why that's caught on, right?
Fix the things in your immediate environment which announce themselves as in need of repair. So that could be a room, a bedroom.
Yeah,
looks pretty good, Fergus. Fair play.
Yeah. Well.
Or it could be, it's rather than taking on new kind of big adventures or undertakings in your community or in the wider world, start with this. It's the whole thing, what is it? Starting with the man in the mirror, and maybe you can, if you want to make the world a better place, you take a look at yourself and make a change.
Yeah.
It's
Do you feel now that we're both 27? Do you feel like that's changed a bit now? It's like, I think I've done a lot of internal work now, and I feel as if maybe I can. The house is, as you said, the room is tidy. Things are in order in a sense, and I feel as if, I don't know, as a man now in his late 20s, do you feel as if you're getting? I know we've gone off point, but I'm still on point in some sense. Do you feel as if you're getting into your groove?
Wow.
This is what I've been thinking. We can come off this point in a minute. Like, we're gonna edit anyways. But do you feel as if you're getting into your groove? Because that's something I feel as if I feel it. It's like a knowing. It's like I'm getting into my work flow, how I approach life, how I deal with life. I feel that groove there, and it's a knowing. It's a meaningful thing.
A sense of your own inner order.
A sense of my own inner order. You've really crystallized that there. A sense of my own inner order. I do feel it. I genuinely feel it. And now I feel as if no. I need to now make the venture outside of my own world big time. And now I need to. Yeah. I need to spread my seed or my ideas. In a sense, I do feel ready for that. I was never interested in politics in a general sense, right? Now I feel like that's something that I want to make that leap.
I think the pitfall with this kind of work is presuming that it has to be totally internal echo chamber. Like if you make whatever your plan is or your future authoring suite, it's what's the rule again? Set your house in perfect order. Yeah, it doesn't mean you have to be introverted and kind of slave away at your own thing. That could could be to meet people and to. So I think
which ties in with his idea about don't fucking hide away in your cave. The dragon's still gonna come. You know what I mean?
Yeah. When I was younger in school, I would be very ready to criticize the infrastructure around me because it is not set up in a way that
supports
my temperament and personality.
Well, I think you make a good point there. Like, when I read this book, and I think when you read, like, we're reading it as an artist, and I think some of the rules don't fully apply in a sense, right? Because it's like, as an artist, you look at the world, and you I mean, one of the parts is, we're as an actor, right, or an artist, you're observing people constantly. You're observing their ways and how, I guess then you try to take the judgment out of that. But what I'm saying is it's very difficult to do that when your whole being is about change, right? I mean, chaos is our playground, so order is the other side of the street. You know what I mean?
Well, I like his. I hope this isn't too much of a departure, but his advice for people high in openness or creativity is to live kind of traditionally or conservatively as much as you can in your life, in terms of if it's even going to bed and getting up at the same time, eating at certain times. If you can have as much structure as you can, you'll open up that space for the chaos.
Pursue what is meaningful, Pursue what is meaningful, not what is expedient. For me, this chapter, it's a chapter I didn't need to read. I feel I genuinely feel that I think I go too far on the meaningful thing, and I'm just chasing down meaning constantly and delaying expedient gratification, as kind of you put it, delaying that constantly. I haven't been looking for peripheral opportunities along the way, which haven't. Do you get what I'm saying? Peripheral opportunities that are in the expedient,
Is it akin to something that's convenient? Like, oh, it's there, let's.
Convenient. Convenient in the sense it's like for example, like you could right, there's a show on, right, a play on, you haven't been working on what you actually don't want to do the play. It's nothing of interest to you, but it will serve that expedient side of yourself. It would mean, well, I'm working now, so at least I'm working. but you know for that run it's not something that you're gonna enjoy that much, you know, because it's not something you're interested in, but you do it because it'll serve a more superficial part of yourself that goes, I should be working as an actor the whole time.
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah. It ties into, I think, one of the main points that he makes in this and overall in his work is shift the focus from happiness to meaning.
Yeah.
Because happiness is, the modern idea of happiness is more like excitement. It's like it's transient and it's not something worth chasing, whereas meaning is kind of this almost divine fuel which will actually produce more happiness. It's if you anchor yourself to meaning. Yeah.
But meaning is a bigger, broader spectrum.
And can produce all these other spectrum
emotions. Other spectrum emotions, not this singular fascination, focus on happiness. Doing the self-authoring suite, reading his material, reading the book list, right?
Yeah.
That's something that now when I reflect on my life and others, I can see that happiness is really, that being the end goal is just it always will fall short of a fulfilled life.
You gave the example of dating as well. One piece that I saw him talking about was a young man might feel, girls like confidence, I should be more confident, and he's like, yeah, well, don't just, a noble goal isn't just to be confident. You need to have something to be confident about. So likewise, if you just blindly chase meaning, no, it's about something that produces meaning.
Yeah.
There's a great YouTube channel, Radius Unknown, and she was talking about approaches to the future authoring suite, and make that your goal in the meantime. If you don't have any goals, make your goal to find a goal, like a meaning. My question though is, to what extent is meaning solidified in terms of, can one have their own meaning? Like what is meaningful to me may not be to you.
But I mean, this is a personal meaning, right?
Yeah.
And it's an intuition that I think everyone has, and that you choose to follow it or you don't. You know what I mean? And if you don't follow it, you
get resentful.
To me, if I don't follow it, then I know immediately. You know, and maybe that's because, you know, I'm an artist, so the instinct to that meaning and that listening to my own personal meaning is very acute. You know, when I go off that pattern, I know this is more expedient, but I have this thing I need to do. I have this thing I need to chase.
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying?
I do. 8.
Number 8, yeah.
Number 8.
Tell the truth, or at least don't lie. Yeah, I mean, that was another, for me, another chapter that I felt as if I didn't need to read, because I think telling the truth is something that I practice quite a lot, like with myself and with others. Like, I really do practice telling the truth, you know. When I say practice, I think it is a practice, because as an actor, right, you know, I mean, I got good at lying, very good at lying from a young age, and then just decided not to do it because it didn't make me feel good.
Yeah, and this could be applied to the work. Obviously, someone said, acting isn't lying, it's telling the truth. And
yeah,
but we digress. But yeah, he was talking about separating the wheat from the chaff, and I like the way it's phrased, or at least don't lie. So start off, if you can't start off by telling the truth, just stop lying. And I really like the passage where he's talking about, because I went through this as well, of that inner voice tempering your conversation. Say if we're having a conversation with some of our colleagues or whatever, and the inner voice going, why did you say that? You don't believe that. Oh, you said that just so you can be morally superior. You said that to look cool. You said that to impress this person. And,
you're crystallizing it perfectly.
As soon as he started doing that, he was amazed at how much deadwood consisted of and coming out of his mouth. So from there, it's just trying to speak as authentically as possible.
If you can't tell the truth, don't lie. And it's like, no, I don't need to seem morally superior here. I don't need to seem, you know. And I've been practicing that for you know, I think 2 or 3 years now, I would say. But
yeah.
Reading it now really solidified that for me. I think that's something you practice as well.
Yeah, well, it's so tough in conversation when you.
I would say you're someone that's very good at pulling back like that, you know.
Well, I was a terrific liar. I mean, I wouldn't have seen myself someone who told lies. But even in the way, like, you know, if I'm projecting myself as being more upbeat than I feel, and inside it's like a version of yourself is just sitting there going, what is he doing?
Fucking yeah. What are you doing? And I made in the other video, but this point pertains again. You know, when you're lying to yourself and you're with someone who's deeper than you and who is more grounded than you are, knows themselves more, and they don't say it, but in their presence, you know, you're lying to yourself.
Oh, you can feel it.
You can feel it, you know, like, and it's a visceral thing. It's like, sometimes you lie to yourself so well, it's like so good, and you almost believe yourself, but there's a voice inside of you that doesn't believe it. But if you're in the presence of someone who's a deeper person, who knows himself more, they don't rub it in your face, but they go, mate, you're lying to yourself. You know, and they could be turned. They could be the opposite side of the room, but you feel it.
It's an energy thing, and then you walk away from the exchange, and you go, "What the hell was that?"
Yeah, what the hell was that? Well, why do I feel bad now? But not bad in the sense like they were criticizing you, but just they were letting you know gently.
I think past authoring is very good for that as well. Just getting to the reasons why you do that. But I like that he says, if you can't tell the truth, at least don't lie. But a lie is not necessarily, he was saying, verbal. It could be if you're behaving in a way that is not with your highest being, or is not with the life you want to live, you're lying to yourself. It's like, well, why am I engaging in this if it doesn't serve? It's so kind of trepidatious to kind of talk about, because it's you know, there's so many angles that you can look at it. But don't lie to oneself. Try to live a high consciousness life. I don't know, it's
should we go on to the next one?
We're still digesting this.
Yeah, we'll go on to the next one, sure.
Yeah.
We're stocking up the time, something serious here.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so next one. Assume the person you are listening to knows something you don't.
Do you know something I don't?
You definitely know something I don't, and that's a difficult one for me to do when you really think you do know more about the topic than someone else does, and you really like, no, you need to. And again, it's pulling back. I feel a lot of these lessons actually, it's about pulling back. You know, it's like you know, that voice inside your head goes, okay, they're talking shit, or no, there's actually something for me to know here in their not knowing, you know, and that it's a pulling back process. That would be my insight of the moment, that a lot of this is about pulling back.
I would wager that this is one where we could be coming from two ends of the spectrum in terms of the agreeableness thing.
Yeah.
So you're saying you found it particularly difficult when you mentioned before in a video where if you're given a job, an instruction, you're thinking of, I could do this 5 different ways and it would be better.
Yeah.
And in my experience,
but that's the high in openness as well, though, right?
Yeah, potentially. But I think for me, I'm not. I was lower in agreeableness when I took the test than I thought I would be. Still moderately high, but it would be a case of, I've always in work or anything in life, I've tried to just act like a sponge in terms of how much. If I'm in a company of actors or from in a group of people, I'm like, how much wisdom can I glean from these experienced people, and you know, channel it into my own kind of life and being.
Like, I find that's a difficult thing, because you know, it kind of goes into this kind of concept about, you know, it leads into not leads into, but it's similar to, you know, befriend people who want the best for you. And that's not always the, you know, like, I'm very wary around people that go about their nature like they're spewing the truth, because it might not be your truth.
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying? And that, you know, it's great to say, oh, be like water and just fucking take on board what everyone is saying at all the time, but then you lose the problem is you can lose yourself within that.
That's very
my
true.
point, right?
Yeah.
Right. But obviously once you know yourself more, then you can oh, I learned something there, but no, I still retain myself. Do you get what I'm saying? So that it's a dance.
It is.
It's a dance.
Definitely, yeah.
It's a dance.
You were listening to Snow. Yeah.
That's my observation.
Yeah, it goes back to the whole thing. If you're at one extreme of the spectrum, try and entertain the other end of it. So it is, I think if you've hit it on the head, it's a down. Number 10.
10. Be precise in your speech. This is something that I have been really thinking about since I read it, and I've been thinking about for many months, and being precise in my speech down to the punctuation when I speak, when I write something, even in the way I think and have a conversation with someone, and paying acute attention to that, it clarifies my own thoughts, you know, and it gives me a sense of what I should be doing next. And if I'm lazy with it, I think in a sense then it becomes a form of lying, in a sense.
That's something I noticed about it between us in class, in terms of we'd make the points to what might seem quite long-winded, but we're trying to again separate the wheat from the chaff. And
wheat from the chaff. And you're testing yourself as you go, you know what I mean? Like, even where we're speaking now, it's like, you know, I'm searching, I know where I'm going with the I don't fully know where I'm going with the sentence or the paragraph, shall we say, but I know it's leading somewhere to something I haven't heard myself say before, right? And it's in that where I'll find the wheat from the chaff.
So the concept is fueling you, and there is the kind of the self-editing sometimes.
But like I can feel when I'm speaking in that sense, in a precise sense, where I'm really testing what I know, and I can feel you listen to me, searching for those words, really searching for the words, not pretending or giving you an answer that I think you want to hear or that I want to hear myself say. Do you get what I'm saying?
I suppose what I mean is that this chapter was not what I expected it to be about. He brings up the idea of confronting the acknowledging the dragon before it grows into, you know, the dragon of chaos.
Like the literal habit of following your speech, like we said about 10 minutes ago when we started this point, that will help you acknowledge the dragon, right?
Yeah,
because in your everyday language, you bring up your own problems constantly, whether you like it or not. You're like, your subconscious brings up your problems. You know what I mean? I find that with me, I'm like, I didn't realize I had that fucking problem until I brought it up with Sam, or I brought it up with such and such a person.
I think it's about attuning your awareness in each compartment of your life. Like if you start with your speech, it's like, and you're going, you don't really mean that, and you know, so you try and just relax. This is what I feel, and this is how this is how I'm going to say it, rather than.
It's something that we know quite well as actors, you know, because speech and words and how we say them, and in the concept that drives them are very particular, you know.
It's like when you're doing a scene and like, just get the acting out of the way. If it's on camera or whatever, it's like, no, I can see you acting. It's just, well, just what does the concept mean to you, and let that drive the thing, rather than I'm going to manipulate this in such a way that, you know. Yeah,
well, that's bad acting. Great acting is not manipulating, but that's a different topic. Anyways, I think
it's a good metaphor though. Be precise in your speech in terms of zero in. It's the wheat from the chaff thing again.
The wheat from the chaff. Yeah, that analogy. It's a good analogy. Okay, do not bother children while they are skateboarding.
The underlying philosophy being, well, the question being, should we strive to make the world a more comfortable place, or should we strive to make people stronger?
Is that
yeah? So. Again, it could be a downside. I think there are things in life that should not be tolerated or put up with for people who are being persecuted and all the rest. But just you wouldn't want, even going back to the if one had children, you wouldn't want to shield them from everything.
Yeah.
Even the example of if you disinfect everything in the house, they will get sick. Yeah, because their immune system hasn't been. It's challenge, and it's strength of character building.
Yeah.
I think.
Next, pet a cat when we encounter it on the street.
Take it away.
Yeah. Smell the roses, and even when, you know, you might your life might be in great order, the machinery's working great, or you're in serious chaos. Take the time out to acknowledge what's going on peripherally.
Oh yeah, he talked about his daughter's. No? Yeah, he talked about his daughter's struggles with her health, and I once saw a lecture he did in London talking about this, and he started to break down talking about it because his daughter actually, of her own accord, researched what was wrong with her, and to the betterment of her health compared to what medical experts had told her, and actually sorted herself out, you know, for want of a better phrase. But I think it meant, you know, don't overlook the good that there is in the world. I mean, the whole mantra is life is suffering, but there's so much good in the world.
That's a good way to finish that. Yeah, don't overlook the potential good in the world that you might not see where it is, but it's there. Yeah.
There's so many. I think there's so many. What I've learned from doing this talk is that there's so many overlaps between these kind of concepts and ideas. In the sense that, what is it? Don't sacrifice who you are today for who you could be another day. And
there's so much overlap, and you feel as if when we're going through these that I'm about to say the same thing I said before. But that's a really good thing, because it shows that we've learned something, because now, you know, all of these maybe seemingly complicated ideas become a simpler soundbite, right?
Yeah.
To us, anyways. It might not be as simple a soundbite to someone else who hasn't thought about it, or, you know, hasn't done the sweets or hasn't read the material, but that we're refining it as we go, and we can go, oh yeah, that's the same as that point. So that's so in that sense, that there's so much crossover, that gives me great hope, because now we're coming closer to a personal philosophy that we can work on, we can craft. It isn't a bunch of chaotic, complex ideas anymore. It's a solid idea.
Yeah,
do you get what I'm saying?
I do. Yeah, even the notion that this started off being 40 rules or 40 points, whatever it was, on Quora, and now it's 12, and even now we're seeing kind of an overlap between them. Yeah,
you could say we maybe, if you looked over this today, there could be 3 overarching points, which
yeah.
But, you know, the final chapter in the book about the light, the pen light.
Yeah.
You know, what are you going to do with your pen light? That's what I text Sam that. What are you going to do? Like, and that was a really nice tone to finish a very serious and dark book, I think. But your pen of light, and to see your own world as a pen of light, and that you wake up in the middle of the night, put that, you know, from a visual, like from a metaphorical point of view, you know, click on that light, and what are you going to do in the world?
Reminded me of the end of Al Pacino's Any Given Sunday speech, all that, and then now, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
And then they're like, yes, go.
Very, very positive and uplifting, even with all the chaos and the struggles of life or whatever. You know, you still have your pen of light, and I think that it left me with a sense of hope.
I love that.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
a real hope, though.
Totally.
Not bullshit. You know, a false positivity that you can feel that you want to believe in it, but this was here are all the things to consider, and they're tough to consider, but here's your pen of light, and you can change things with your pen of light.
Here's your red pill. Yeah.
If you so choose to.
Yeah, I love that when you're reading something or studying something, and then you look at something completely different, and you go, oh, it's crossing over, and like it starts to manifest in your life, you know, all these concepts. But I think it's a good note to sign off on the book. Yeah,
cool. Anyways, we have fun. Thanks for doing this with me, Sam.
Thank you.
I'll see you again.